What's doing, everybody? Today is Wednesday, October 16th. General Michael Flynn returns to the podcast today. Kamala Harris has hit the reparations part of her pandering tour. Donald Trump is ahead in both the polls and the betting markets in the swing states. And we are just 20 days away from the election. I'm Alec Lace. This is the Alec Lace Show.
The American family is under attack. Parents are the underdog of this nation. Your children are being indoctrinated. That's right. Your children. They do not belong to the state. They do not belong to the school system. They belong to you, the parents, as a blessing from God our Father. So let's preserve, protect, and fight for the American family together. You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
All right, let's get it. Welcome, everybody, to the Alec Lace Show. I'm happy and honored, as always, to be here with you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching the broadcast live on Rumble, as always, please get down there and share it so we get as many people here into the live feed as possible. Get involved in that live chat, and please follow or subscribe wherever you may be listening to the broadcast. I got a big show for you guys today. General Michael Flynn, how cool is that, coming back to the podcast today? I haven't spoke to him since March, and it feels like 5 years have happened since March. So much has happened. I'm glad I'm going to get a chance today to catch up with him. General Michael Flynn's going to be here with me in just a few minutes, so please stick around for the interview. Yesterday on the podcast, I had the honor of Dennis Prager joining me here on the show. PragerU, one of the biggest things in the conservative movement. Dennis Prager, obviously a big voice in the conservative movement. Honored to have him on the podcast yesterday, so if you missed out on that one, please flip it back. And be sure, just for a last program note here, tomorrow on the podcast, the RNC chairman, Michael Whatley, will be joining me here on the podcast as well. So got a lot of action coming your way. We're going to have General Michael Flynn here in just a minute. Let me hit this, what I was saying at the top here. Kamala Harris continues this pandering tour that she's on right now. As Barack Obama has so clearly stated, she is losing support with black voters, particularly black men. So what does she do? She has this awkward audio town hall with Charlamagne the God, who is the host of The Breakfast Club. So they call it an audio town hall. It's basically just her on a podcast is really what this is. And so it was just, the whole setup of this thing was strange. CNN carried this thing and was just playing, and I'll play a couple of the sound bites that I think were important. But here's one thing that's important. Charlamagne the God is the guy that sat there when President Joe Biden, who was candidate Joe Biden at the time, said to his face, he told Charlamagne the God to his face, if you don't know whether or not you're for me or for Trump, then you ain't black, right? And pointed right at him, like, hey, if you don't know if you're for me or for Trump, you ain't black. And Charlamagne the God ate it. He just sat there and ate that racist comment, and it's the most racist comment ever captured on video from a United States president. There's not even a close second. If you have a close second, put it down there in the chat below. The most racist statement ever said by a president of the United States, captured on video, was that one right there. Charlamagne the God doesn't even push back against it. He doesn't check Joe Biden on that. Nothing. He just sits there and eats it. And then you know what he does? He does exactly what Joe Biden told him to do. He goes and votes for Joe Biden. He does just as he was told. So here's Charlamagne the God. He has this town hall with Kamala Harris, right? Now you can imagine the softball lobs that were going back and forth. Kamala Harris, one lie after the next on this thing, which is, of course, she's in a safe space here, so she feels happy to lie. And, of course, she has to make these promises to the black community that she has zero intention on fulfilling. 2 points. I'm going to hit you with 2 clips on this, quick ones. The border. So he asks her about this border czar title and then asks about if she and Biden hold any responsibility for the border disaster. So here was the exchange.
Why do you allow him to call you the border czar when that's not even that wasn't your role?
I'm not giving him permission for that.
Oh, you're right. But I mean, you don't push back on it because that wasn't your role.
Fact checkers have made that clear.
But doesn't the Biden administration have to take some blame for the border, though? A lot of the blame? Because I mean, the first 3 years, y'all did get a lot of things wrong with the border.
No, Charlamagne, within hours of being inaugurated, the first bill we passed before we did the Inflation Reduction Act, before we did the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, before we did the Safer Communities Act to deal with gun violence, first thing we dropped was a bill to fix the broken immigration system.
And you love the fact how they push back so much on the border czar. Oh, well, I don't have that name. He gives me that name. Oh, it's actually in one of the bills in Congress here, H-Res 253. I put it on a board here. Whereas on March 24th, 2021, Vice President Kamala Harris was named border czar in charge of efforts to stem migration. Now, we know that she was called the border czar by many, many different members of the left-wing media. Everyone acknowledged Kamala Harris as the border czar, but because at that point, the border wasn't as a disaster as it was about to become after she got that title. Now it's, oh, no. We were never the border czar. That's not something that I was. She was a disaster at the border. And this executive order that she's talking about that they signed right away wasn't signed until this year. And the border is a disaster, and we all know it. So she tries to backtrack. Now, here's a lie that she tells. Congress has to act. Congress doesn't have to do shit. Congress doesn't have to act. It's illegal to cross the border. What you need to do is enforce the law. That's what you need to do. Congress needs to act for you to do your job. The law is you cannot enter the country illegally. They're doing it, and they're allowing the people to continue to flood into the country, and they're shipping them all over. Who are they kidding here? Who are you kidding? On day one of the Biden-Harris administration, they undid everything that Donald Trump did to secure the border. We all know this, but she's pandering here to the crowd. She knows the people that are going to listen. They're just going to be yes men. Oh, yes, that's right. Bad Trump. Orange man, bad Trump. Yeah, he's the reason for the border. Despite under Donald Trump, we had the lowest amount of border crossings in history. And then magically, Biden and Harris get in there, undo everything by executive order that Trump did, 91 of them, 96 of them, whatever it was, all removed, and then boom, we have an influx of people storming the border. Isn't that interesting? One more thing on the border here. This was from Breitbart yesterday. Feds admit child sex trafficking reports triple under the Harris-Biden administration. Tripled. So the amount of child sex trafficking being reported, that's just the reports. We know, God only knows what the unreported amounts of child sex trafficking is. There's 300,000 kids. They have no idea where they are. So we have no idea how big it is. But here's the border czar, right? It's 3 times the amount of reported sex trafficking cases because it's a disaster. But who does Kamala Harris? Do we take responsibility? Oh, no, we don't. No, we don't. It's Trump and it's Congress. It's you, Kamala Harris. It's you. But no. And of course, no pushback from Charlamagne the God on that. Here's where Charlamagne the God puts her on and asks her about, hey, what about reparations, right? This is the go-to thing that the Democrats love to dangle that carrot in front of the black. Every 4 years, they dangle the reparations carrot. Gavin Newsom just did it all the way up until it was time to sign the bill. He did it in California. Reparations for you guys. Oh, we're going to give you reparations. And then it was time to sign the bill. We just can't do it just yet. Boom. No good. So he dangled that carrot nicely. Kamala Harris, let's see what she does here with Charlamagne the God. He asks about reparations. And hey, what are you going to do for the black community after decades of promises? Take a listen.
My question to you is, what's your stance on reparations? We all know that America became great, off the backs of free black labor. How progressive are you on making it a priority and righting America's wrongs? It's understood that you are running for president for all people of America. Mm-hmm. Asking for specifics for black communities doesn't mean don't do for others, but black Americans are heavily asked to vote Democrat in every election for over half a century with very little in return. What are your plans to address these very important issues and change that narrative?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Zeke.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for your work. Mm-hmm. So to your point, yes, I am running to be a president for all Americans. That being said, I do have clear eyes about the disparities that exist and the context in which they exist, meaning history, to your point. So my agenda, well, first of all, on the point of reparations, it has to be studied. There's no question about that. And I've been very clear about that position. In terms of my immediate plan, I will tell you a few of the following. One, as it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother, worked hard, raised me and my sister. And by the time I was in high school, she was able to afford our first.
Kamala Harris, whose family owned slaves, says, yeah, we have to look into it. It has to be researched, this reparations thing. Taxpayer money for reparations. This is the lunacy coming from Kamala Harris. And then it's, what are you going to do for the black community? Well, I grew up in a middle-class family. She's got no answers. Here's the word to the black community. She's not going to do nothing to help you. She's going to do the exact same thing that Barack Obama did to help you, which is zero. She's going to do the same thing that Joe Biden did to help you, which is zero. All right? So how many times do you have to be hit over the head with this stupidness, this dangling of the carrot? Oh, well, reparations, we're going to talk about it. You're not hitting the lottery. You had the first black president, and he didn't do it. You didn't get the reparations. It's not going to happen. You're not going to use taxpayer money for reparations. It's not going to happen. But they're going to continue to dangle the carrot in front of you. Just like the same thing they did with the stupid tuition payments, right? We're going to pay off all your tuitions. You can't do it. And even though the Supreme Court knocked it down, Joe Biden says, well, the hell with the Supreme Court. I'm going to try to do it anyway. And then it got knocked down again. So it's just the same old from the Democrat Party. And it's like, how could you look at decades of failures and say, well, we'll try one more time? Oh, it's a woman now. It'll probably be different. Oh, it's a woman of color. We're definitely in now. But this whole thing was one lie after another with Kamala Harris. And she said, Trump is going to terminate the Constitution. We've heard that lie before, which is fact-checked. And it was something that he said, of course, that they take and run the ball with. Oh, Trump's going to throw out the Constitution. What was the other lie she told on the show? Suckers and losers. She told the suckers and losers lie. Now, remember, this is the party that is against misinformation. No, we are seriously against misinformation. We got to crack down on it. That's the party that they represent. Yet she keeps telling you that Trump called the military suckers and losers, which is a total lie. She tells you Trump's said he's going to tear up the Constitution, which is a total lie. These are the same people that tell you, Project 2025, which is a total lie. But they're the ones that are the ones telling you misinformation is dangerous, while they are the ones peddling the misinformation. All right? So this thing was a disaster again for Kamala Harris. And it's only going to get worse, I think, for her. As the more she talks, the worse it gets. So Charlamagne the God, you know what? Let me play this while I have you here with this. Charlamagne the God on the Breakfast Club. He cut me up after I went on Fox and called Kamala Harris the original Hawk Tuah girl. Everybody got it on the on the hits because it went viral, the clip. But here was Charlamagne the God and the Breakfast Club talking about me, talking about Kamala Harris as the original Hawk Tuah girl. Here's the clip. Kamala Harris, she's the original Hawk Tuah girl. That's the way she got where she is, and the party's going downhill if it's in her hands.
That was tough. That was harsh.
The Hawk Tuah girl, though?
Well, the worst part about that wasn't the fact that he called her a Hawk Tuah girl. It was saying that that's how she got to where she is.
Correct.
That's not how she got to where she is. But I'm not letting those people steal my joy, and neither should you, because everybody wants to be funny. Everybody wants to perform. So Republicans say wild things about Democrats, and Democrats say wild things about Republicans. It is what it is. If you dish it, you got to be able to take it. Furthermore, y'all not going to listen. You're not going to turn the Hawk Tuah into something negative. Okay,
What?
Saying someone is a Hawk Tuah girl is a compliment as far as I'm concerned. Dropping a clues bomb for all the Hawk Tuah girls out there. Okay, and I'm definitely not sitting around wasting my energy being fake outraged because a man gave the VP a compliment and don't know it. Okay,
What?
All right.
So should we make T-shirts?
Hawk Tuah for Harris.
No, I think Charlamagne the God was pretty fair there in his assessment. I'll tell you what, he went all in on this Hawk Tuah thing. He started going, oh yeah, Hawk Tuah. They of course it's okay when they do it. It's comedy, and it's like, oh, they make a big. And listen, the Hawk Tuah girl's throwing out the first pitch at the Mets games, for God's sake. She's got a podcast and $1 million contract. She became popular for this. I said it about now. What he got wrong there was that it's 100% true. That's how she got where she is. 100% true. She got her start by who she slept with. She was given her first positions in politics by the man she was sleeping with. That's literally how she got her start in politics and how she got where she is. This is the woman who, I'm a big lawyer, failed her bar exam. Right? Oh, she's the brain. She's such a smart lady. Plagiarized her own book. Right? She's nailed with plagiarism in her own book. This woman didn't get where she is because she's smart. And if you think that, you're dumb. And Charlamagne the God obviously has to cover for her. And but anyway, there was his clip. I know a lot of people, different people, cut me up for that clip. I thought Charlamagne was kind of fair. DJ Envy, who was also in that clip there, I actually interviewed him. He was a guest of mine on First Class Fatherhood a couple of years back when he came out with a book. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. All right, Ron, one more thing before I bring on General Michael Flynn here. Trump is polling ahead in the swing states, and he is also ahead in the betting market. So here is the election forecast. This is what we got in the poly market. We have got Trump 57.7% against Kamala Harris 42%. This is an increase for Trump of 2.6% and a decrease for Kamala Harris of 2.3%. Let's go to the betting markets, and I'll put this video up here. As you can see in the swing states, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Arizona, Trump has pulled ahead big time here. And he now has a 56% to 44% in these swing states. This is according to Kalashi that is tracking this. And then again, you have now, here is the interactive poll, the poly market that I showed you. Trump 55%. Kamala 45%. Swing states, he is ahead in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin. He is losing in the poll. So I am mistaken here. Nevada is the swing state where Harris seems to hold a 2% lead. So not all of the swing states, but most of them. And he's doing very well with the polling. And here's the betting market, too. He is ahead now in the Vegas betting markets, minus 135 to win the presidency. The comeback on Kamala is plus 140. So I think the betting markets are showing it. You saw that I put up there the graph of how it has all changed. You see that the polls are starting to swing in the favor of Donald Trump. The momentum is right there. I think it's Donald Trump's, common sense here would tell you that Donald Trump has got all the momentum going into this thing. And it's funny how they keep saying, like, Tim Walz and Doug Emhoff, and they keep saying things like, we can't have 4 more years of this. It's like they try to erase the fact that they are the incumbents. They try to act as if Trump is the one right now that's responsible for this disastrous economy, the problem at the border, the wars all over the world. They try to act as if this is all Trump's fault. They've been at the helm for the last 4 years. And God knows they've been able to do whatever they've wanted to. Because you had, for most of it, a House of Republicans that didn't do nothing to stop you. So they always try, we can't have 4 more years of this. You're damn right we can't have 4 more years of this. All right, so let's do this now. I got General Michael Flynn returning to the show here. It's a big honor to get him back on the podcast here. General Michael Flynn, if you didn't see the movie, go to flynnmovie.com and check out the movie about Michael Flynn. A lot of people don't know the whole story about Michael Flynn, and they did not want Michael Flynn anywhere near that White House the first time around. And you better believe they don't want him around there again this time around, okay? It's Michael Flynn, powerful voice, awesome guy, and I'm really grateful to get him back on the podcast here. Last time I had, if you remember, those of you who watched the show here, last time I had General Flynn on the show, he scolded me. If you remember the exchange, we were talking about, what was it, Black Swan events. I said to him, hey, you called for a Black Swan event. He's like, I didn't call it. So he called me out, and I was like, whoa. I felt like I was getting a real talking to there, but we were able to swing it around and straighten it out. And I'm honored to get him back on the podcast today. So let's do this. Let's bring him on.
You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
All right, let's do this. Joining me now, General Michael Flynn. Welcome back to the Alec Lace Show.
Alec, thanks so much for having me. And wow, what a time, huh? I mean, it's been amazing. And I apologize for not, coming on earlier, but appreciate you being persistent and getting me back on.
Well, the last time we spoke was in March, and since then, so much has happened. You had Biden stepped aside, Kamala got installed, President Trump was shot at, hit, another assassination attempt. So what do you make of this race here and everything that's gone down?
Yeah, I think that, I've been saying this a lot, and maybe I said it on the last time that we spoke, but this is a takeover of the United States government by a small group of globalists who are going to impose, if they win this election, they're going to impose what they call their new world order. We're going to move the world. We're the last sort of bastion of defense. And I've been saying this for years. This is not something new that I'm making up or pulling out of where. I mean, this is a part of the plan of what they call the fourth industrial revolution that Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum has written about in his book, The Great Reset. These are people that are looking at the world as what they call, this phrase, the New World Order. And I want, to remind your audience that the New World Order has been in vogue as a phrase since post World War I. So this has a long history of a group of people, a small group of people that have constantly tried to get us to a place where there are these globalist institutions, World Bank, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, the League of Nations failed. And then you had, of course, post the 1920s, the rise of the Bolshevik Revolution. I mean, I can go through the details of history all the way through the last 100 years to where we are now. But, this is not something like where the United States of America, would go in and take over a country like some small island nation like a Haiti or a Dominican Republic or an El Salvador, or even places like Iraq and Afghanistan, right, where we go in and we throw out the thugs that are in there and we take over the country, and then sadly we've screwed it up, right? I mean, we lost Afghanistan, we've lost Iraq, and we're a complete mess right now in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, and so now when we look at internally what's going on in this country, it's really bad. I mean, you just highlighted, I don't know, 5 or 6 things that one of them, Alec, would be monumental. But those are all like huge tectonic type events that would cause any nation to just kind of go, to be thrown back and go, what the heck? And yet we're kind of like, we're in these paces, and yet we still are told by the corporate media that this race is close. I mean, that we have a divided country. I don't believe that. I believe that our country is only mentally divided because of the propaganda and the projection from the corporate media and places like Hollywood and the corporate world. That's sort of frankly, the governmental world, those that are running our government right now, they are going to continue to just beat down that this is a divided country and Trump's bad, right? I mean, Donald Trump could have easily never run for president, number one, and had a great life, or after being torn apart in his first administration, and he was torn apart but still did great things. He could have said, no, you know what? I'm gonna let somebody else take on. I've given it my best shot, and I did some great things as a president, and I beat these bastards. But no, he stood back up even after a fake, false election in 2020. I don't care what anybody says. There's plenty of evidence that shows that the whole thing is manipulated, to include some of the stuff that we've seen from J6. We have people in prison that have never even been in front of a judge yet. So I'm not jumping around. I'm being very, very focused on the challenges that we are facing. And if we don't get this election, if we don't win this election, Donald J. Trump does not win this election, we are going to rapidly go down this path of socialism, and we're going to become the United Socialist States of America. Trust me, there's people all over the world, Alec, that are begging and praying for the United States to win this election, for Donald Trump to win this election, because they know that if he goes down, then they go down, and freedom will be an afterthought for potentially 100 years, 1,000 years, who knows?
Well, General Flynn, they know that as well as we do. So it's like, and Trump is in their way. We know that. He always says, he's in their way, and he's right, because they would have done this 8 years ago, had not Trump come down the escalator and got involved in this, it would have already been done. He's in the way, and they keep trying to take him out, whether it be in the court system, whether it be shooting at him, whether it be through the media and the propaganda, whatever. They're doing all hands on deck to stop this guy from doing what he's doing. And so it just has this feeling that we're getting set up for a disaster in 20 days here, man, because it just seems like they'll stop at nothing. Even if somehow they make a mistake and don't rig the election enough to beat him and he wins the election, we still got from November 5th until he gets put into the White House in January 20th, where anything can go wrong here.
Exactly. I mean, Congressman Jamie Raskin, I think he's from Maryland area. He's already said we're not going to certify the election. He's already said it. I mean, these people they're thugs. I mean, I hate saying it. I hate talking about people like that, but this is a very, very dangerous time. I don't think that they're done trying to kill President Trump. I hate to say that, but so between now and the president and between now and the election, I mean, God knows what's going to happen. And then, like you say, I mean, if we don't have an answer, and by all rights, we should have an answer on election night as to who won. There's no reason why we shouldn't have that. And what we're going to find is a bunch of states that are going to go, well, we have additional counting, we need to count, and they're going to drag it out. And there's all kinds of lawfare that have already kicked in. Most people don't know, but one of the key lawyers on the left, his last name is Elias, he already has over 60 lawsuits that are filed in states and in counties already. I mean, and I would love to say the GOP has got its act together and they're ready there to. No, I don't think we're definitely not as organized as them. They operate off of one sheet, where we're operating off of all kinds of different sheets of music. And so yeah, the other point about what you said was just so right. Between an election, so let's just say he wins. Let's say we find out on election night. There's so much damage that they can do between then and the 20th of January, the time he gets inaugurated. And I don't think that they're done trying to eliminate this man. I really, really don't. I mean, that we know for certain that the second shooter, right, that he was on the FBI's radar. We know that the first guy was known by the FBI. So, guaranteed, because the FBI said it, the second guy was on their radar. And the fact that this guy was operating and conducting military training type operations and other communications with people in Afghanistan and in Ukraine, if the CIA didn't have him on their radar, they're incompetent. So I can almost guarantee they did have him on their radar, because a U.S. citizen operating overseas like that and as high of a profile as he had, they would have had to have him on their radar. So something is just incredibly wrong with how things are functioning. Instead of just saying, look, we're going to have a good, fair, honest election. The election system that we have is a fair system. You're going to vote. We're going to count the elections, and the best, person wins, right? It just doesn't feel that way. And I hate to talk like this, but folks, we've all been talking about this for 4 years, and we've seen how much they beat up Donald Trump for 8 years. Not just him, but his family and anybody associated with him, to include yours truly. I mean, the persecution that they will take anybody through, it's not just against that individual, it's against your entire family. I mean, they go after every aspect of it. So anyway, that's where we are. And if we don't get this one right, I fear for the country.
Yeah, same here. And just a couple of points on what you were saying there. First of all, I was at the Butler rally, the Trump return to Butler, and it's like just what you're saying, like they're telling us that this is a close race. The support for Trump is so overwhelming. I mean, it's amazing how, I don't know how many people were there, 70,000, 100,000, but it's amazing how many people genuinely realized what's at stake here in this election, and the fact that Donald Trump is doing this again for them. And for these shooters, it's like you say about the guy with the CIA, that guy 20 years ago had a weapons of mass destruction charge on. They found more weapons of mass destruction in that guy's house than they did in Iraq. So he had to be on the CIA watch list. There's no doubt about it. And the fact too is you had 2 attempts on the president's life here, and it seems like it never happened. There's no coverage of it. There's no documentaries about it. This is a huge deal that's been completely suppressed and minimalized by the press.
And they still don't. And Alec, they still don't give him the respect nor the security, the necessary security that he needs in order to protect himself. I mean, the man has to fly around. So his aircraft is at risk. There's already reporting, and it's however you want to say it, there's already reporting of shoulder fired missiles that are coming in through Mexico. They call them they're called MiSag 3s, they're Iranian made. I mean, there's reporting of that. So there's an Iranian threat. Now, whether it's the Iranians or not, because both these shooters were far left guys, right? So I don't know whether it's the Iranian threat is real or not, but there's clearly reporting that is and the FBI has talked about it, the FBI director has said it. So in order for Trump to continue to get around the country, he needs additional security. I mean, our country there should be no problems providing him that level of security, whether it's aircraft to protect his airplane while in flight, whether it's widening the perimeter, the security perimeter around him. I mean, we're not talking about, the first attempt almost turned his head into red mist. I mean, so, and I know we don't want to harp on the assassinations here today, because there's the bigger picture is what will happen if we don't get this election right. And I fear for the voices of truth like yours and many others out there that have these I call them, citizen journalists or digital soldiers, I think those will go away. They will go away. Our freedom of speech will be denied. I mean, and I saw an interview with Tucker and Elon the other day, and Elon was kind of joking, like, well, if Trump doesn't win, what will happen to him? And he's laughing about, he'll go to prison, and this is not funny. I mean, I looked at it and I found it, enlightening, but it's not funny, because I know what they are willing to do to a person who only wants to serve our country, right? They will attack you and go after you if you want to serve honorably and you want to serve with integrity and you want to serve with honesty. They will destroy your life, because these people have no integrity, they have no honesty, and they only want power. And that's, frankly, Alec, that's on both sides, not just the Democrats.
100%. And I'll tell you what, Elon Musk coming on stage with Trump at that rally sent a huge message, to the globalists, to the deep state. And he is a major, major factor. That was a huge moment for Donald Trump to have him. And to your point, too, about the GOP. Now, tomorrow I got the chairman of the RNC, Michael Whatley, coming on. I don't think that they've done enough or anything enough, nowhere close to what they had time over these last 4 years. And it seems like we're on the brisk of this election here. We're right at the, and we've done nothing. We're in the same position we were 4 years ago, and you thought by now everything would have changed, but nothing seems to. I had some pushback from, I know, Congressman Matt Gaetz, who was on here, said, we've done some stuff in certain battleground states, but I don't think there's anything near enough that has been done to secure the election.
No, I mean, there's local brush fires that local citizens, local activists have done to try to fix things, but I don't see this concerted RNC GOP effort. I don't. And I paid very close attention, as you are. I mean, like I see the effort that the left is taking to have a lawfare army in place, and they've already begun, and they're well funded. They have a strategy. They are in places that matter, and they're already acting. Now it'll be interesting to see if you have Whatley on tomorrow and listen to what he's got. I mean, so what are the measures that they have put in place that are going to stop cheating? What are they? And I want to, please be specific, Michael, because, and everybody will bitch at me because they go, Flynn's attacking the GOP. No, I'm not. I want this country led by Donald J. Trump. And the only way that it's going to happen is if we have a relatively fair election. And frankly, and I've been saying this for a while, if Christians have got to get out and vote. You can't have 40 million or 30 million Christians sit at home because they don't like Donald Trump. Give me a break and not vote at all. No, we have too many people that have lost their lives, given their lives for this country to have that right. So get out there and vote for America. Vote for a patriotic constitutional republic, which is what Donald J. Trump represents. Kamala Harris represents a socialist Marxist ideology, And there's no denying it. It is undeniable. Bernie Sanders is the one that said she was left of him. I mean, and Bernie Sanders is an avowed socialist. So
Yeah,
Jesus.
that's wild.
So yeah.
And I spoke with Jack Posobiec at that Butler rally, and he came around and said, if the Catholics will break for Trump, Trump is going to win. I mean, that's it. I mean, we got to get the Catholics, the Christians have got to come out to vote in this election.
Yeah.
But the other problem is, too, is we still got another 20 or 15 days left in October here for a massive October surprise. In my opinion, it has been that they'll push Biden at the last minute to resign and make Kamala Harris the president so that she can have this tour, this inauguration. It'll be free press, free campaigning for her.
Exactly.
And that's my October. What do you see? What do you think maybe we could see?
I mean, you know, I've been going through and wargaming all kinds of scenarios. I mean, I know we're going to have an economic shift here. We're going to have it here before the election, and that's because of this upcoming BRICS summit. They're going to go to this digital form of currency, you know, and so Trump is you know, he wants to maintain the sanctity of the dollar as the currency of choice. I think we're still talking health scares, even though, you know, the American people are kind of like, don't fool us, don't try to fool us again. I do think that war is still on the horizon. I mean, today, last 24 hours, there's reports of a large Chinese armada around in the Straits of Taiwan and basically around the island of Taiwan. I don't think that there's going to be an invasion, but there's all of these external pressures. And then you have, you know, what is going on in the swing states, right? I mean, we have places at risk, like, I mean, you know, North Carolina, God help these people that got devastated by Hurricane Helene up in the mountains of North Carolina. 25 counties were destroyed in North Carolina. 23 of those counties voted for President Trump in 2020, 23 of them. So I don't know how those people are going to vote again in these. You know, North Carolina is a critical state. Donald Trump doesn't win North Carolina, it's going to be a tough race to win. I mean, I think he'll take, you know, we could go through all kinds of the scenarios. Like, you know, I think he'll win Pennsylvania. I think Georgia's at risk. I think Arizona is clearly at risk. I mean, there's all of the indicators that looking back prior to 2020, and you kind of go, how can we, like we've been talking about, how can we still be here today wondering whether or not our elections are going to be fair? And I'll tell you, one finger that I would stick in the chest of anybody is in the chest of every Republican governor in this country. Not one of them has ever said that 2020 was possibly, maybe a little bit, had fraud. Okay, not one. So when they don't do that, when they don't say that, or when they don't act on that accord, then what that does is that just kind of, okay, then the system just keeps going the way it was, right? I mean, look at what we've discovered in Georgia alone. Oh my God, what's been found in these machines. And clearly everybody knows about the mail-in ballots and how ballot stuffing happens, you know, finding hundreds of people voted from a vacant lot in Arizona. I mean, this is nuts. I don't see the big changes there. And to me, again, because you're going to have Watley on tomorrow, I'll be interested in what he says. And these people, you know, the establishment are not friends of mine. And I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats. You know, the Democrats, of course, they fear what I would do if I ever got back in government. But that's why, because I'll just speak for myself for a second here. In the last 48 hours, I've been all over the nasty media because it's like, you know, they fear a guy like me going back in if Donald Trump wins. They fear a guy like me going back in. They didn't give me a chance in 2017 at all. And you know, and now we know why. And you know, we know why, because there are things that are going on in this country that they do not want to have discovered. And you know, if you're in that, if I was able to stay in, I've said this, Alec, if I was able to stay in that job, we'd have never had a Mueller investigation. Never. And because I would not have allowed it. And so now, you know, Trump's got to be really smart going into these final few days about how he, you know, about what he talks about, how he responds. I mean, I think lately he's been terrific in his rallies, in his town halls. Message is really strong, and it's resonating with more people than it's ever resonated with. Blacks, Hispanics, you know, the Asian community, which is the large community in this country. I'm talking about the Chinese Americans, the Vietnamese Americans, the Serbian Americans from the, the European communities that are American citizens. So I think we're going to have a turnout that is much greater than anybody projects, than any of the polls project, because I do believe that there's an uncertain feeling that a lot of people have, and they know that the writing's on the wall. If we don't get Trump back into office, this is going to become a communist country.
Well, unfortunately, General Flynn, I think that the Democrats or the globalists are already prepared for this. They have a contingency plan. It feels like that happened. We tried to impeach Trump. If that don't work, we're going to go. We had coronavirus. We have that. Then we have mail-in ballots. If that don't work, we fix the election. If that don't work, we arrest him. If that don't work, we kill him. I mean, seems like they always have something else in plan down the line, and it just seems like too. And I know I'm running up against the clock here, but it's like you mentioned there, China circling Taiwan. It seems like, let's say Trump wins this election, that's almost like now China, if they're going to ever move on Taiwan, now's the time between November and January. The illegal immigrants that are going to surge the border, hey, now's the time. We got to get there now before January 20th. All these things are going to be massively sped ahead because they're going to say, if we don't do it by January 20th, we may never get a chance.
Yeah. So let me just take it down a couple of decibels, because your audience can hear it in our voices, can hear the anxiety and the passion in our voices and in this conversation that we're having, because everything that we're talking about is very real. We haven't said anything that's bullshit or conspiracy theory. No, this is all very real, and you've been great with your audience to keep it that way. People need to understand that empires rise and they fall. A fact of life is that nation states, the great nation states in world history, have they might, parts of them may still be around, but they're not great nation states anymore. I mean, every single empire. So is this the end of the American experiment, right? Which is what our founders always talked about. Is this it? I don't believe it is. I don't believe it is. My faith tells me that it's not. I do believe that, and as a Catholic kid, and you said it earlier, if the Catholics can sway themselves toward patriotism, toward Americanism, toward sort of republicanism. And I'm not talking about Republican like a party. I'm talking about a constitutional republic, as we are. If they can, keep that aligned, I will tell you, then the Catholics are a very, very powerful voting bloc in this country. Never mind the greater Christian community of all Christians. And so that's got to be it. If we want to make it too big to rig, it's because the Christian community comes out. Instead of in 2020, they sat it out. The numbers over in 2020 of Christians that were registered to vote that sat out are over 30 million. I mean, we can't have that. We can't have that. So that's my message to everybody, is to get out and vote. You want to make America great again? You want to make America healthy again? You got to make America vote again. And folks, get out there and vote.
Yeah, well said. And I think part of that problem that we're seeing with the Catholics is the leadership of the Catholic Church. The Pope Francis, he is not a Trump guy. He's not a conservative guy. He's not an America guy. And it seems like that's a big problem and a roadblock for Catholics to get over. But you would think that driving an abortion bus up to your rally would be enough for Catholics to say, I ain't going that way. This has to be stopped.
Yeah. Let me make one comment about the Pope, because the Pope just came out with a statement. It's just an incredible statement. The Pope came out with a statement about how building walls, we should be building bridges instead of building walls to attack Trump. The Pope, stay out of it, Pope. You have so many walls around the Vatican. I mean, you can't scale those walls. I've been to the Vatican, and I've been inside, and I've had great, VIP level tours because of, just because, right? Because of who I am. And one of the first things that was very stark to me was the walls. And they're there because all of the wars in Europe that have occurred over time to protect themselves. Okay, Pope? So, I mean, I'm just telling you, for this guy to weigh in at this moment in time is very telling to me, and it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Stay out of U.S. politics right now, and don't start telling the American people that we have to build bridges instead of building walls. We have 15 to 20 million illegals in this country that are raping and pillaging America right now and bringing in all kinds of drugs. I mean, massive crime, Get out of it, Pope, and stay in your lane, period.
Yeah. Amen. I know my time is up. General Michael Flynn, I got the links to your socials down there in the description below. Love to have you on again. Hopefully, next time I talk to you, Trump has won the election. We'll see if we can make it happen. General Flynn, thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time today in the Alec Lace Show.
God bless, Alec. Thank you.
All right, there we go. Honored to have General Michael Flynn. I could talk to that guy all day long. It's always an honor to get him on the show here. What'd you guys think about the interview? Hit me with a comment down below. Don't forget, if you're enjoying the podcast, hit the like button. And don't forget to share the podcast. General Michael Flynn, I hope he gets another spot in the Trump administration. I hope that this is the thing about, we were talking about it a bit there, surrounding Trump with the right people, provided we get him back into the White House. I know Kash Patel is somebody that's got to be there. It's just, there's so many names, and it seems like right now we kind of have like this all-star team heading into this election that we didn't have in place in 16 and in 20. You have the names like Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. who are on board and helping to campaign for President Trump. You got voices like Vivek Ramaswamy who are out there. So I think there is a much better team right now surrounding Trump and helping him get in there. We also, obviously, the biggest one, Elon Musk, is somebody now that is all in on Trump and helping him constantly on X to promote him and encourage people to vote for him. And that's what you got to do, right? This is it. You got to vote. That's the important thing right now. And I think they just had it with Georgia when they had their first day of voting, I think broke a record, far surpassed what happened in 2020. People are going to get out there to vote. Make sure you're not staying at home. Get out there and vote. It's so important this year. You can't be caught sleeping right now. This is going to be the biggest election of our lifetime. If we don't get it, you heard General Flynn. He knows it. If we don't get it this year, we're going to lose this country. And, hopefully right now, if we get Trump in there, it's not like we're just putting a Band-Aid before we lose the country, because we got to make some major changes here going forward. Again, grateful to have General Michael Flynn on the podcast. Let me know what you thought about the interview. Don't forget, I'm being brought to you guys by My Pillow. If you want to support me and the show that I'm doing and also get the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, get over to mypillow.com. Use the promo code FATHERHOOD at the checkout. You'll save up to 66% on your entire order. There's certain items you could save up to 80% on. He's always running all kinds of deals and specials over there, so make sure you get over there and check out the latest. Mike Lindell, my kind of guy, always been grateful for his support for this show and for my other show, First Class Fatherhood. So, again, if you want to support me and the work that I'm doing here and you want to get yourself the best night's sleep, upgrade your sleep system, get over to mypillow.com. Use the promo code FATHERHOOD at checkout. All right, one more thing I want to hit before I leave you. And again, I talked to Michael Flynn there about tomorrow on the show. I will have RNC Chairman Michael Whatley, and we are going to get into all of this stuff because I do have this fear that we have not done enough to secure our elections. I think you feel that. I know I feel it. And most of the people I talk to, they seem to have that same feeling like, oh, here it goes again. We have got to watch, and I don't think there's been enough done. So I'm going to talk to the guy in charge of it all tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be here live on Rumble. Bring it back for that one. One thing I wanted to touch on here, Bill Clinton. This was classic. Here's the Post cover, the New York Post from yesterday. This was a doozy here. We agree with Bill Clinton. Dem president says Laken Riley is dead because of Biden-Harris lawless border. And isn't that the truth? So Bill Clinton, I was at a campaign rally for Kamala Harris. And again, Bill Clinton is one of the guys that can't say Kamala Harris's name right either, right? He says it kind of the way I say it, Kamala. And he said that at the DNC, and so did Al Sharpton. And nobody called those two people out on it. But you'll constantly hear these pundits, like on CNN and MSNBC, like whenever they have a guest on that says Kamala or whatever the name is the right way to say it, you can't get her name right. You're doing it on purpose. They don't dare do that to Al Sharpton. They don't dare do that because the white liberal is scared of that. He'd be like, oh, no, I can't correct him, even though they know he's saying it wrong. He's saying it the same way I say it. But they can't correct Al Sharpton. He's the race hustler extraordinaire. We can't say that to him, although he says it the same way I do. But they call out anybody else that comes onto the show. You're a racist. You know you're doing it intentionally. No one knows how to say her name right. Let's be honest. The name is ridiculous. Kamala Harris, whatever it is. No one says it right. Anyway, Bill Clinton's doing a campaign rally for Kamala Harris. And he mistakenly, I guess, I don't know if he did this on purpose, but it's the truth. And then Donald Trump, I think maybe this clip was on the internet for maybe 20 minutes before Donald Trump's campaign clipped it and made it an ad campaign. So I'll play the ad campaign. Here's what Bill Clinton had to say.
You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted and that doesn't happen.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Brilliant move there by the Trump campaign, because that is true. Laken Riley would be alive today if it wasn't for this Biden-Harris administration allowing people to just pour into the border and be sent all over the country. And somebody else would be alive today, Rachel Morin, her family, her mom, Patty Morin, put this statement out. I got this off Breitbart. President Clinton acknowledged the failed border policies of the Biden-Harris administration that has cost America so much. Had the border been secured and proper vetting done, Laken Riley, Rachel Morin, and so many other Americans would be alive today. I commend President Clinton for telling the truth about the Biden-Harris border failures. And it is true. So I don't know if Bill Clinton, it seems like he's lost his marbles a little bit. It's interesting because he's the exact same age as President Donald Trump, but he doesn't seem to have his wits together. He seems like he's aged very poorly, where Donald Trump seems like he's, on the ball there. He speaks for hours on end and he's sharp. He's the guy sharp as a tack, right? I'll never forget that. Michael Douglas, about 2 weeks or whatever it was before Biden had a hand in his campaign, Michael Douglas is sitting there on CNN. Joe is sharp as a tack. And these people all knew Joe Biden is, half dead. So anyway, Bill Clinton there says the truth. And that is what we all know, is the fact that these people with these angel moms, these angel parents that have had to bury their kids and other people that have had to bury their family members because of these illegal immigrants that are in the country that should not be here. And so look at what's happening. Here's the last three presidents, the last three Democrat presidents, what they have done here with this Kamala Harris campaign. Joe Biden, number one, Joe Biden puts on the classic Trump hat, right? I don't think anybody else, he put on the Trump hat. It looked pretty good on Joe Biden there, right? It looked pretty good. But also, he contradicted Kamala Harris when she said, Ron DeSantis is playing politics with the hurricane down in Florida. Joe Biden totally shot that to hell and said, no. DeSantis has been great. He's been in constant contact with me. We're on the phone. We're communicating. Everything is going good. So the current president totally contradicted Kamala Harris on the entire Ron DeSantis narrative, and he's wearing a Trump hat. Bill Clinton, which we just heard there, totally shoots Kamala Harris down by saying, your border policies have failed the American people because Laken Riley and others would still be alive today had it not be for your policies and your vetting process, which is zero. Again, Kamala Harris says, that ain't my fault. I didn't do nothing, Kamala Harris, right? It's Donald Trump. It's Congress. It's everybody but me. You look at all them. They're the fault. I'm going to just give you reparations and all kinds of free stuff. That's all. I'm going to pay your tuition. That's all I'm doing here. Forget about all that. The other stuff is all Trump's fault. So Bill Clinton goes ahead and gives Kamala Harris a low blow there. And then you have Barack Obama, which I played yesterday on the show. Barack Obama talking to the brothers, saying, hey, Kamala Harris, she's not getting the support from the brothers. And those were his words, obviously, not mine. And he pointed that out. So he undermined Kamala Harris there by saying, hey, she's not polling very well with the black voter, particularly with black men. And as I said yesterday, this has become really a viral trend that's going on with black men coming out in full support of Donald Trump and making TikToks and YouTube shorts and posting on X. There is a lot of support in the black community for President Donald Trump, a lot more than I think the polls are showing. And I think a big part of it is because they are living in reality. I think that's the major issue that they're having, right? The biggest problem, and I've said this before, the biggest problem that the Democrats have is reality. If it wasn't for that pesky reality getting in the way, they can keep selling their line of shit and people would keep believing it. The only problem is people are going to the grocery store, right? That's been the issue. People are looking in the bank account. That bank account exists. They're looking at it and they don't see anything. And so that weighs badly on Kamala Harris, who's been in charge, or who Joe Biden has told you she could do. Basically, there's nothing I've done that Kamala couldn't do. Those are Joe Biden's words. So people are looking into the reality of this. They're looking in the neighborhoods, especially in the black community, where Barack Obama says, hey, you got to vote. Come on, brothers, you got to vote for Kamala Harris just because she's black, because she grew up like you, because she looks like you. you should vote for her. Don't worry about what your neighborhood looks like. Don't worry about the fact that when you want to go buy deodorant at your local bodega, it's locked up behind bulletproof glass. Don't look at that. Look at the color of her skin, not what she's done. How dare you? Don't look at what she's done at the border. Don't look at what she's done for the economy. Just look at her skin, damn it. That's what we want you to look at. Vote for the skin, not for the policies. That's what Barack Obama's telling you to do. That's the Democrat way. Vote for the skin, not for the politics, not for the policies. Your neighborhood looks like trash. Crime is up. Murder is up. Violence is up. Don't worry about that. That's okay. Just vote for her because she's a person of color. That's the truth. That is the 100% truth of what the Democrat Party is telling their voters to do. Put your blinders on. Look the other way for everything else. It's a female of color. That's all you need to know. The rest is bullshit. Don't worry about any of it. Oh, and Trump's bad. He's a fascist. Trump, the guy who restored so much of this country, the guy who had money in your pockets, the guy who had peace all over the world, that guy's the fascist. He's going to destroy the Constitution. Don't listen to a word he says. Listen to us, right? Remember, if you're on the side of the mainstream media, if you're on the side of Hollywood, if you're on the side of all the celebrities, if you're on the side of all the politicians, you're probably on the wrong side. You're not part of the resistance, right? You're part of the puppetry. But these people are all like, yeah, I'm going to listen to what Oprah Winfrey is telling me. Yeah, now I'm on the side of the resistance. Oprah told me, right? Oh, LeBron James, who's he voting for? Oh, who's Taylor Swift going for? Yeah, I'm on the side of the resistance. Oh, all these politicians in the House and in the Senate. I'm going to listen to those guys. I'm on the resistance now. You're an idiot. But that's the name of the game. It is definitely an identity politics with the Democrats. Always has been, and it always will be. That's the party. That's what they're going with. So, and we're going to talk more about this because these swing states are so important. The election integrity, too big to rig, is what Donald Trump is saying, and we have got to pray that it's going to be too big to rig is right because if you have the same kind of sense of feeling that I do, I kind of feel like we're fixing to have the exact same setup on election night where it's not going to be election night, it's going to be election week where we don't know what happened. Oh, here come the late votes, mail-in ballots, machines shut down in the middle of the night. And just like General Flynn said, the election was rigged in 2020. That's the truth of what happened there. Something was wrong with the 2020 election. We all know it. Every swing state had the same graph. Biden's votes come in, he's underneath Trump, and then all of a sudden at 3 a.m, up, and then over. Every pattern looks the same. But if you question it, you're a fascist. You're an anti-American if you question the elections. Meanwhile, the Democrats, like Trump will tell you, questioned every election. And they've still questioned the 2016 election. It was Russia that did it. Meanwhile, by the way, those 51 intelligence officers who swear up and down that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian information and it was disinformation and the whole bit, what those 51 intelligence officers did was far worse than what anybody did on January 6th. It was far worse. They manipulated the election by what they did. And they did it knowingly. It wasn't as if it was up in the air that maybe this Hunter Biden laptop's not real. It could be something by the Russians. It wasn't as if they didn't know. They knew that the laptop was real, and they told you it was Russian information. They lied specifically to the American voters just weeks before the election. It was election interference, and what they did was treasonous, and they should be prosecuted for what they did. They'll never face any charges for it. But what they did, mark my words, what they did is 10 times worse than anything you saw on January 6th happen. It was a bigger threat to our democracy than anything that happened on January 6th. But they'll pay no price for it. Anyway, we're going to break down a lot of the stuff with the voters, the swing states, the whole bit. Will we have a secure election? We're going to talk to RNC Chairman Michael Whatley about all of that tomorrow on the podcast. So make sure you bring it right back here for that. I'll be going live on Rumble first, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, for you guys that are new to the show broadcasts live right now, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Rumble. And then it gets released out to all the other podcast platforms. Follow me on X at Alec Lace for all the upcoming guest announcements. I'm doing my best right now to lock in some guests for next week. If you got any suggestions, put them down there in the chat. Leave me a comment. Hit me with an email. My contacts are down there in the description below. And again, grateful to General Flynn for coming back on the podcast. So cool that I get a chance to speak with people like him. And again, tomorrow, RNC Chairman Michael Whatley. So thank you guys for spending a few minutes of your day with me here. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. If you did, hit the like button and share the broadcast and follow the channel wherever you may be listening. So I'll be back here tomorrow. God bless you parents and listeners out there. God bless our police, our first responders, our military, our veterans. God bless America. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.
You're listening to the Alec Lake Show. The future is family.
Promo code FATHERHOOD. Go to mypillow.com and everything we have on sale there. Actually, we brought in the percale sheets. The queen size, $34.98 a set. King size, $39.98 a set. That's unheard of. It's the lowest price in history. And everything else on there that we have, you can save up to 80%. We don't have any middlemen. We don't have box stores and stuff. They canceled on MyPillow. They even canceled my book to get my book out, you know. So use that promo code FATHERHOOD, everybody, and please help us out, and thanks for ones that you have already helped. And by the way, you'll be helping yourself to the best sleep in history, period.
I got to tell you, that mattress topper is the best product I have in the house, Mike, no doubt.
And that turns any bed into the best bed in history. If you've got an old bed, new bed, doesn't matter. You put the mattress topper on there, and it changes everything. You need a different input to get a different output. People waking up every day going, maybe my bed will be better than night. No, you need a MyPillow mattress.